car in Bahrain last year for a commission that I had for Bridgestone to show smoke coming off the tyres, to show the cars, again, that drama and emotion as they leave the pit box. This here is where the car was just stopped. This is where the guys would stand as their marks for where the wheel guns would go. And personally, I was sad to see grooved tyres, the grooved slicks go, because they gave this fantastic speed effect. You really knew the Formula 1 cars would be rather than under junior Formula, which is now obviously what it just looks like it's just a black streak, which is less distinct, which is a shame. But we understand why they did it. And again, I was down low, panning really quickly, but just before the car starts, got the wheel basically underneath the camera, underneath the rear wheel, and pushing away with the camera, keeping smooth, trying to keep smooth all the time. I'm very fortunate that another car, Toro Rosso, came in over there, which really adds to that feeling. You're taking away, and it would take something away from the picture. And that's a different, obviously a closer up version of the same commission. As for the pit stop in Malaysia last year, where about 5 or 6 photographers are allowed to go on top of the pit building and look down on the cars as they come in. Now one could, when photographing the pit stop, you can make the car sharp, or you can go for the guys to be sharp, or you can go for both. This occasion, I chose to have that feeling of the anticipation of the, I think it's something like 18, 19 guys, count them. And they're all ready. You can see the fuel guys already moving with the cars coming. You can see the guys on the guns, particularly on that side, they're already moving with the wheel to try and get it straight in as Kim is coming to a stop. This guy is hoping he doesn't get hit, which has happened in the past. Especially when you're on Friday mornings. You can go on YouTube to see a funny clip. And it creates drama, and it looks like he's doing 150 miles an hour. Actually, he's doing, I don't know, 10 miles an hour before he actually, the wheel will stop just there. Feel the heat, which obviously in Singapore you're all used to. And as a photographer, one tries to bring out, because the heat generated by these cars, and the fact that we're in hot countries most of the time, fortunately in hot countries, really, this was taken last week in Italy, and it's an angle that I've thought about doing for a few years and haven't been able to. This year I managed to get the right spot. I had to work with the marshal, I let them come outside the barrier slightly, which is highly illegal, but don't tell anyone. And just trying to get that feeling of just before the car's released. When you do a start shot, I always find it's much better to actually have the lights on. It loses something. Once the lights are off, as you know, there's no green, there's just the reds. Once those lights are gone, there's something becomes lost in the picture, I feel. Obviously you get the motion of the cars moving, but because then by necessity you're shooting at a higher shutter speed, you don't get much feeling of movement. And this gorgeous out of focus blur here from the heat haze just adds to it. I used a smallish aperture to keep them kind of that two-row shot, but then get that feeling of Lewis Hamilton on pole. It's really way down the track, ready for the final. And this is a different way of trying to show heat. Kind of love it or loathe it, I find, when people who look at other photographers castigate me for this picture. But I try and bring in some feelings of artists. My mother and father are both artists, painting artists, and I was brought up to appreciate the work of the great masters, and it's trying to bring that feeling into it. Going to Turkey, which is can be really, really hot at that place, and it's quite a challenging circuit, so because it's not very photogenic, so one is trying to always bring something else into the photography to try and, I don't know, take attention away from the fact that it's not very photogenic. So I focused, went there in my mind, to focus on the heat haze. And it's quite difficult. You're really searching to find it. And and you're never quite sure that you've got it. And the fact that there's a bizarre thing about Turkey is that we have hardly any crowd turn up at that race. I think 9,000 this year for the Grand Prix, which they try and disguise by painting the grandstands in dark green so that you can't see that that's not the countryside. But the grandstands that they leave uncovered are these, and they're done in a flame effect. So ironically, the photographers certainly aren't very happy that we don't get any crowd because they make a fantastic background. And that's the podium there, and these are the guys down the pit lane waiting for their drivers. Lewis has just left his pit box and is driving towards the pit lane exit. And I'm crouched just over the barrier, a little island that separates the racetrack from the pit lane. And I'm waiting for him to come over. Ironically, of course, I'm not interested in him being sharp. I'm just hoping that there's enough in there. You will know who it is. Obviously, the distinctive livery of that car, and the fact that it's yellow. Hopefully you know who it is. It wouldn't work, for instance, with Brawn quite as well because it would keep or a Toro Rosso. It would just not suit the shot so much. A different way of showing I guess the loneliness of Grand Prix driving in many ways. It's taken on the last corner, the exit of the last Hungary, I think, Hungary, which is a tight, twisted little circuit that I always quite enjoy working at. And it's shot on a 600mm lens, but with a 1.4 converter and a 2x converter. So it's something like a 1500mm lens, which makes it very difficult to use. It's very, very shaky. But it's trying to accentuate that feeling of the car disappearing. Remember, lots of you are probably familiar with the film Lawrence of Arabia, when Omar Sharif comes across the desert and takes 2-3 minutes for the full shot until he comes actually into sharp focus. And that's trying to get that. So the car is going away, it's trying to get that sense of distance. He's just about to go, just kind of along there is a crest, and he drops down to the first corner. So it's trying to catch him on the crest. And the fact that it's unsharp, I think, adds to it and accentuates that loneliness as he disappears off. Again, the colour of the red works. If that was where you Toro Rosso, I don't dislike Toro Rosso, I just don't like their livery, but it's an opinion. But the red and the blue works fantastically well together. Sure. But it comes to the microphone, and something that one has to have the patience to complete for. And this is a shot that was taken in testing at the Valencia circuit. Not the Valencia circuit that you know, just outside or just in the city. This one is just outside. It was primarily built as a test circuit, a bike MotoGP circuit. Very tight, short, twisted. It's like a go-kart track in a way. But in the days before we had a controlled hire, they just Bridgestone. We had Michelin at Bridgestone, as I'm sure you all know. And Michelin used to use the Valencia circuit as their circuit to test their tyres. They built a lake in the middle of it, and in winter testing, this is, I think December or January. I think it's December 02, so they're testing before the 03 season. It's the car running in the wet, but as I'm sure you appreciate, it's actually very sunny. And that's because between me and the car is a lake that Michelin built. Every 15 minutes, cars would fall into the pits. A water tanker would scoop up loads of water, go out, drench the circuit, do a whole lap, drench the circuit, come back into the pits. The cars are released for 15 minutes, and they would run around 15 minutes to simulate monsoon conditions, so that they could use the monsoon tyre, as they call it. And of course, at that time of year, it's fantastic low light. The light never gets high in the sky, and it's the best. It's gone down in the annals of motorsport photographers. It's the best test, Formula 1 test that there's been, just because we have all those conditions. And there are only 4 photographers there, so I'm glad that I was one of them. What I should say also is that it really shows how the aerodynamics of Formula 1 car works. We call this the rooster tail. Similar similar kind of effect, obviously, if one was way over here, you'd be seeing that rooster tail. This is trying to show the speed and the fact that certainly the other car here, the Red Bull, is trying to get out of the rooster tail that Sebastian Vettel's Toro Rosso is creating, because he just can't see what's going on. Within here, it's a weird thing when you're photographing, and I can't imagine what it's like when one is driving inside here on the main straight at Monza at 190 miles an hour. You can't see what's ahead of you. And it's actually one of the only times where I've been quite, not frightened, but concerned, really trying to keep an eye on what's going on. Because you can hear the cars, but you can't see them. And suddenly one will pop out here, or pop out there, or over there. And they're all not knowing what's going on. And as the press, with just a concrete block in front of me, you'll hope that they don't get it wrong.